Hello, my name is Ann Vileisis, and I'd like to tell you about my new book, Kitchen Literacy: How We Lost Knowledge of Where Food Comes From and Why We Need to Get It Back. The idea for the book came to me about 10 years ago. I was hearing more and more troubling news about our food system. Factory farms were polluting rivers and estuaries, herbicides were contaminating drinking water, and mercury was showing up in fish, making it unsafe to eat too much. But when I went to the supermarket to shop, it was as if I entered an entirely different world. Food was plentiful, cheap, unencumbered, with none of that other context whatsoever. There was Tony the Tiger, Betty Crocker, thousands of products as familiar as ever. But somehow I started to realize that all the foods and all the shelves had stories, real stories, and I knew absolutely none of them. And I was struck by the utter absurdity of this modern cultural circumstance, and I wondered, how on earth did we get into this everyday situation of knowing so little about what we eat and thinking it's entirely normal? That's what my book is about. I thought it would be interesting to know for a couple of reasons. First, I love to eat and I love to cook, so I thought it would be interesting to study food and to better understand how people have known food over time. Second, I had a strong sense that if we're to be better stewards of our land and water, of our own bodies and communities, we needed to have a better understanding of the historical factors that have contributed to this dominant modern everyday habit we have of looking the other way when it comes to our foods. In Kitchen Literacy, I didn't analyze technologies or policies or reveal grotesque details. Instead, I focused on telling stories that illuminate this matter of what we know about our food, because I think it's something that we can all relate to on a very personal level. As I did research for Kitchen Literacy, I consulted with lots of old cookbooks. And I've got to tell you, looking at old cookbooks, old books, is fascinating. It gives us an amazing window to how people were thinking about things in different times. And for example, old cookbooks recommended that homemakers know very specifically the age, sex, and background of animals that were to become meat. Of course, these are things we don't even begin to think about today. In the late 19th century, when the meat industry industrialized, things happened that would have made thinking about the lives of animals enough to make anyone pass on the pot roast. And so traditional knowledge went obsolete, and at the same time, a brand new advertising industry cut its teeth, helping to ease Americans into new and more palatable ways of knowing their foods. Kitchen Literacy is history, with colorful characters and rich details, but I think it's important to consider today because we still face difficulties in knowing our foods in a huge, anonymous industrial food system. And I think reflecting on what we've known about our foods in the past can help to give us fresh perspective and insight as we deal with these problems today. In the end of my book, I talk about the recent groundswell of new interest in knowing about food and where it comes from. Over the past decade, demand for organic foods has risen 20% per year, and farmers markets are popping up all across America. I think it's because people are finding it reassuring and rewarding to know about the real stories of their foods, especially when they're local. I think we're beginning to learn a new kitchen literacy, one that recognizes that what we eat is related to real people, real places, and the well-being of the environment. It's a very exciting time, and I think people will be interested to read a history that's related to this current topic.